Welcome to Crushgasm, the podcast dedicated to the highs and lows of crushes. From their first to their worst, we're going to cover them all with a cascade of characters, including our guest today, a guy who's somehow single, Brody Otway, a wearer of shoes, brusher of teeth, and eater of all his veggies, who is here today to talk not only about his crush on a trio of YouTubers, but also his podcast, Fandoms, with Brody Otway. Brody, how are you?
I'm good.
Great to hear. I had a long day at work. I work at a school now, and I went to my first ever staff meeting. It was wild. It's a pre-K through 8th grade, so it was basically they're just like, these middle schoolers are out of control. But I'm in pre-K, so it had nothing to do with me.
Oh God, I don't know how you do that. I've only got 2 kids, and that's more than enough for me. Like my kids drive me up the wall. They're 2 polar opposites too. Like my daughter is super loves to stay home and play video games. My son wants to be outside all the time, so it's a battle.
Are they like elementary age or?
6 and my daughter will be 8 on Christmas Day, actually.
Oh, 8 and 6. I mean, I feel like that they're starting 6 is a little tough. 8 years old is kind of like, I feel like they have like their own little personalities. It's not so much like babyish anymore. Like they're starting to come into their own. But yeah, it can be hard sometimes.
Yeah, she flip-flops from being a total daddy's girl to go away, you're annoying me.
Ooh, you can't wait. How many more years till middle school? That's going to be when I will send a prayer your way. Middle school's rough.
Oh, I dread the days.
So before we before you send your daughter away to boarding school in a couple of days just to get rid of a teenager in the future, I want to ask you, where can people find you and your show online? And don't worry, I will make you repeat this later.
We're on all major platforms for podcasts other than Apple right now because they're giving me the runaround retrieving my account. But other than that, we're pretty much anywhere you find podcasts as Fandoms with Brody Otway. And we have a mild social media presence on Facebook, Instagram. We've got a Discord server and Twitter. X, I guess.
I still call it Twitter. I can't get behind calling it X. I think it feels like it's Vin Diesel at that point, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No. So when I did your show, I figured I'm probably a bit older than you, so you are a bit younger than me. That's how that works. And for me, YouTube wasn't around when I was little. It actually debuted the year I started college, so that's to date myself. So I just never really got into it until like recently. But for you, have you always looked to YouTube as like a viable form of entertainment?
Not really. I guess I would have been late, like 8th grade when YouTube kind of became like a thing with like Smosh and all those things. And it kind of just at first seemed like something people were doing to goof around. And I wasn't hugely into it. I had seen like the Smosh lip syncing videos, but other than that, it was like, no, I was a film and theater kid, so I was all about movies and television and just obsessing over that way more than I should have.
Well, when did you start to notice that like YouTubers were more than just people who made videos, but like people who made them for a living? Because it's definitely like going from like, hey guys in your room, those little vlogs to like you said, Smosh or Good Mythical Morning, things like that, where it's like, oh, this is their job.
Yeah, I mean, the first one I really noticed, I guess, would have been like that Fred back in the day, that guy. And then he got like even back then, it was like everybody was just getting TV shows off of it. So I'm not even sure. It was kind of just wild when I realized one day people were doing YouTube and stuff for a living. And yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
it feels like it's always been there to me now. So like, I've never really had to think about this before.
yeah. Oh God, Fred, a dark time of the early or the aughts there. Couldn't stand him in that like
Me
was it
neither.
like Laughing Orange or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, the orange with the faces composited
Yes.
on it. Yeah, no, I just everything on YouTube seemed so stupid to me. So I like until I started like binge watching like long form content on there, just
Mhm.
like learning about like storytelling and things like that, where I was like, okay, yeah, no, there's actual like content on here.
It's definitely evolved from the Smosh and the Charlie Bit My Finger to what it is today. Because I mean, now it's like they're like Good Mythical Morning's a whole like studio and everything. But your crushes, they're not just YouTubers, they're booktubers, which I didn't even know was a thing until you presented me with these crushes. Because I grew up like with reading Rainbow, so in a way, I kind of see booktubers as like the grandchildren of LeVar Burton, if you will. But anyways, is booktube like a big part of like your everyday viewing?
It's become part of it in the last year or so. Um, I I'm a huge gym junkie. I spend hours at the gym when I go, and I discovered audiobooks through Audible and ended up just deep diving into audiobooks and stuff. And it was when I discovered books by the author Brandon Sanderson and his Cosmere universe of stories that I started to I hit the wall with as far as the books go, and I'm waiting on the next one. So I started looking online for like fan theories and things like that, and seeing what other people thought of them. And I ended up discovering quite a few different channels, like Lost in Discovery and Captured in Words, and the ones that we're talking about today, Elliot Brooks, Bookborn, and Murphy Napier, who also covers manga, which was kind of a thing I'm not as into these days, but it was cool to see that there was very big variety on her channel.
That's interesting. You said you got into audiobooks and then you were like, but I need more. So I guess that these kind of YouTubers, like whether it be movie reviews that form those, like they do those like explanation videos, or the booktubers kind of just give us like an add on to what we already love.
Yeah, and I mean, not a lot of people in my life are into these things as much as I am, so it's nice to hear other people's thoughts and opinions and stuff on it. And it doesn't help that they're easy on the eyes and have nice voices, so I can throw it on while I'm laying in bed and fall asleep listening to them talk about the latest book by Brandon Sanderson, or saw their thoughts on the characters or stuff like that.
And which of the three between Elliot Brooks, Bookborn, and Murphy Napier did you discover first?
Um, I think Elliot Brooks was the first one I found. Got a sword in the heart today when I learned she was married.
Oh,
Yeah, no, that one's unachievable. So
always
and
hurts, doesn't it?
I think, and mm, then I think it would have been Murphy Napier, who at first I actually didn't realize was a different channel from Elliot Brooks, because I was mostly listening to them and stuff, and then they were auto playing into one another because similar
Uh,
content, and they're
mm.
both uh attractive dark brown haired girls who review books. So it was not it was probably like a week of bouncing between the two when I realized they were different people.
You're like, oh wait, oh there's two of them, even
Yep.
better.
Yep. I was, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know about Murphy, but I know Elliot Brooks is married, sadly. And I think Bookborn maybe as well, who I actually don't know her real name even, but
Yeah.
I know I stumbled into her community tab yesterday and found out she has kids. So I'm guessing she's married.
Darn. Or you could, if not, blended family, and she can help you raise this future teenage girl. Because Lord knows, that's a rough one. But so I did look into Elliot, and I noticed she's not just a reviewer; she's an author as well. Have you has the crush gone to where you're like, now I'm gonna read her books too?
I've been thinking about it. I need new things to read or listen to, I guess. I'm not the biggest reader. I prefer audiobooks because I'm a multitasker. But if they're on Audible, it's probably not going to be long before I'm listening to them.
You'll get there. You'll get there. And you mentioned Murphy does the manga.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
entirely sure how to say it. I
And
flip flop.
and I know she does that and anime, and Bookborn has fantasy sci-fi. Is it safe to say those are the types of books that line your personal Audible library?
Yeah, I listen to a lot of I'm re-listening to Brandon Sanderson's series Stormlight Archive right now. One of my all-time favorite stories is also by the same author. It's Mistborn, which I believe is where Bookborn gets her YouTube channel name from. But that's probably my favorite story. And then I've been looking for a lot of new fantasy stories and stuff. I like sci-fi too as well, but I'm a big fantasy book guy. It's probably my favorite genre.
Interesting. Yeah, my husband has Star Wars books. It says sci-fi as his library gets, and I'm I didn't even know people read that those kind of stories. To me, it was always you have your autobiographies and you have your romance novels. They have YA. I didn't even know sci-fi had such a big section in a bookstore until recently. That's how much I go to a bookstore. I usually if I like memoirs. That's my thing. So I'll just go on Amazon and buy a memoir. I have too many books.
But... Yeah, I dabble into sci-fi. I'm a Star Wars guy. I don't really read a lot of Star Wars books anymore, but I did as a kid growing up. I was pretty big into the King Killer Chronicle books by Patrick Rothfuss, but Game of Thrones, no idea if or when the third or the last book's coming out. And I got on board Game of Thrones, and I've been slowly watching Murphy, I can't even remember now whether it's Murphy Napier or Elliot Brooks read through maybe it was book. I can't keep them straight anymore, but yeah, one of them was reading through Game of Thrones for the first time, and I was like, oh, so am I. And that was kind of how I found their channel. And yeah, it's I guess my type is brown-haired girls who like to read.
Yeah, but have any of them ever reviewed something that you've read and you had a different opinion than them, and it kind of made you question the crush? You're oh, why would they say that?
So I thought that was going to happen today. I was watching a lot of videos in preparation for this specifically, and I went into a video being okay, there's gonna be stuff in here where we disagree. And when she brought up her initial viewpoint, on a lot of the things, she was comparing Stormlight Archive to Mistborn, the characters in them, and which ones she prefers. Mm-hmm. And every time she made her point, I was like, damn, she's right. I was like,
can't
be mad. Hey, yeah, no, I've been swayed. And I was waiting for one where I'm like, no, you're wrong. I wanted to leave that comment being you're wrong about this, but no, nope. It was, I was wrong every time. It was definitely, every time I was no, there was one of her main ones where I was vehement. She asked what companion from either book would be better, the little ghost guys from one book or shape-shifting dog from another. And I was oh, it'd be the ghost thing for sure. But then she brought up the fact that they'd be around all the time. and just
Mm.
invading your space, and you'd have no privacy. I was like, oh my God, that sounds agonizing and awful. Okay, yeah, no, like every single, like, I guess I don't think things through enough, and like, yeah, no, these girls are definitely smarter than I am. That's probably one of the reasons why I find them so attractive. I love a brain on a girl.
Yeah, it's crazy how in depth these like YouTubers, whether it's books, movies, TV shows, how in depth they can get. It makes you feel like, am I watching this right or reading this correctly? Like, am I dumb? Like, I always do that I watch mostly like movie recaps and TV shows, and I'm like, okay, I didn't catch that. And it makes me question my whole life. But thankfully, people like this exist.
If you're enjoying it, you're watching
Yeah.
it, right? But I mean, like, I definitely find extra enjoyment of getting to watch their videos and then going back and doing a re-listen and finding all these details they pointed out that I didn't catch on a first listen. And I, even because of these Brandon Sanderson books being so thick and everything, I've picked up physical copies of books to actually try and get into reading. And I honestly say that, like, these, not just these girls, but these YouTube channels are probably the reason that I've decided to pick up books again. And I don't think I've read a full novel since high school, so like 12 years.
Oh, wow. Would you say that, well, in a way, they've made you like a better reader because of how they kind of will review things, dissect things, and then you can take that and then put it towards what you do?
Oh, definitely. And like, I'm working on a book myself, and that was actually kind of partly inspired by when I found out Elliot Brooks is an author and stuff. And I was like, why don't I? Like, all these people online, they just have YouTube channels and they work on their books and stuff. And I was like, there's no reason I can't do my thing and work on a book. And so, yeah, I kind of started writing a book, and a lot of their critiques and stuff like that. And a lot of them have advice for writing and like common tropes people use, and a lot of really useful information for just anybody who's into writing, whether it's as like writing a book, or if you're into Dungeons and Dragons or any kind of thing where you're doing any storytelling. It's good to have a critical mind and be able to figure out what works and doesn't.
That's really cool. Hopefully, you'll be able to thank them in the like acknowledgement section of the book when it's ready. But I wanted to know what made, like, because you're reading your Brandon Sanderson. You're like, oh, let me go to YouTube, see what people said. What made these three sort of stand out when it goes like as far as reviewing books? Not so much. I know they're pretty and they have good voices, but what else about like how they approach booktubing?
Well, like I said about Elliot Brooks and making good points, like, she was able to sway me from my being a Mistborn fanboy to being able to admit that the series that I may not be my favorite in the Cosmere is, from a writing standpoint and characters and everything, objectively the better series. Just because it's not personally my preferred one, it is probably the objectively better one. And I can be a bit of an arguer sometimes, so the fact that I just was able to accept it, like, Elliot Brooks is very well spoken. You can tell she's intelligent just from watching her videos. And I feel like the main thing, honestly, that made me realize her and Murphy Napier were different people from just listening and not watching the videos when I actually like checked, was because Elliot Brooks does come across as a lot smarter than Murphy Napier's channel. I find like they're both very entertaining, and I'm not saying she's not an intelligent woman. She definitely is. She's a million times smarter than I am, for sure. But there's just something about the way Elliot Brooks speaks and presents her points that it feels more professional and like analytical, as where like when I'm listening to Murphy Napier's channel, it feels like I'm hanging out with a friend and listening to a friend just chat about the things that they're into. And so like I prefer their two channels for different like depending on what mood I'm in, I guess.
So Elliot's more, well, no, it's scholarly in her approach.
Yeah, and she's just yeah, and just something about the way she presents herself, I find.
And we've mentioned this before quite a bit. They are brunette bookworms. Would you say that has always been your type, like whether it's YouTube or real life?
I've always had a thing for girls with dark brown hair for sure. Brown hair, green eyes is a weakness of mine. Um, as far as bookish goes, not really. I've definitely dated quite a few quiet girls, but for the most part, like most girls I've dated are kind of short, blonde, loud,
Oh,
abrasive, and completely opposite of what I would say my type is, I guess. And I don't know. I think the reason that I find the bookish personality so attractive now is because something I think I would really enjoy in a relationship is cuddling up and being read to, because like I said, I love audiobooks. And I
yeah.
think like if I had a girl with just a nice voice to read to me and just like the physicality of it, my love language is physical touch, like all the way. So like I think that would just be like the most romantic thing in my books.
You got to hang out at bookstores, libraries. Like, this is where you need to be.
Oh, I'm too awkward. I'd be kicked out of the store in minutes.
It is. I mean, plus it's hard to. It is really. I'm glad I'm not single because it just seems really hard, especially after COVID and everything, to meet someone in real life and not online. I mean, I met my husband online, so I couldn't say I'm not awkward too. I have to go
Oh,
through the
God.
vetting process of like, okay, what did they say in that message? It's this all. I have to like think of the conversations before the date. So I'm glad that's. Whew, I'm very awkward too.
Yeah, and I just after my experiences online dating, I don't know. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting. It'll come eventually.
It'll come. Everybody has somebody out there for them. So
Exactly.
usually, yeah. So usually we play Fuck, Marry, Kill, but I wanted to go literary here. So we're going to play Write, Read, Review. So when it comes to Elliot, Bookburn, and Murphy, which would you want to write your biography? Which would you want to simply just read your biography? And which one would you want to review it on their channel?
I'm gonna say Elliot's gonna write it. Bookborn's gonna read it because I enjoy her voice the most, I guess. And then Murphy will be reviewing it.
Okay. That's pretty easy for you. And sometimes guests come through with a crush, and it's just a crush that's like a fond memory, perhaps like a celebrity they loved when they were a teen or someone they liked in elementary school. But for you, these crushes are still going strong. What's kept all three of them in your heart?
I think just the fact that they keep showing up in my news feed, and like they just keep making content that I'm interested in, and they're very attractive ladies, and I that's pretty I would say it's a pretty shallow crush. Like I'm not swooning over them or have their pictures
Oh.
up on my wall or anything like that, but I definitely characteristics I would be looking for in a partner.
Oh, I mean, all crushes, you gotta have the crushes you just think are, I mean, you got more to it, but there's some people that are just so physically attractive. You're like, I don't care anything else about you. You're just so pretty. Like, I think that for some celebrities, I have to
Oh,
think
that was
of
Jessica Alba for me at 12. I oh, I thought she was like the most flawless thing.
I had a trio. They all hosted this podcast, and they each brought a celebrity. And one was Jessica Alba, and I think he was the one because it was Jessica Alba, Jennifer Aniston, and my apologies for forgetting the third. But I think the one who liked Jessica Alba kept saying I would drink her bath water, and his co-hosts were like, "Stop! What are you
Oh
saying?"
God. Oh yeah, no, her in fact, I think it was I was a big comic book nerd growing up too. So
Mm.
when I seen her in the Fantastic Four movie growing up, that was a bit of an awakening for me.
Oh
As a
yeah.
child, I was kind of like, whoa, this
Oh.
is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. There's a scene of her in her underwear, and I get to stare at her in a skin tight suit for most of the movie. I was like, this is my new favorite movie. Looking back on it, it's an awful movie, like terrible, but like 10, 11-year-old me watched it way too many times at camp, that's for sure.
I mean, everyone's got those movies. Mine was Cruel Intentions because you see Ryan Phillippe's butt for like 5 seconds. And that movie's just overtly sexual for being a teen movie.
Yeah.
It is like, I mean, everyone in like a certain age range, that was the one that was like, well, that was different. That wasn't She's All That.
Yeah,
Little
no, there was.
spicy.
Yeah,
That and
no,
Wild
there was
Things.
movies.
Wild Things too, but I've never seen that one. I've just heard that one is saucy. But no matter if the crush is present or in the like past, every guest that has to come through has to get a little imaginative in this portion because now I want you to pick one of these booktubers, and whichever one you pick, I'd like to know how your happily ever after goes with them. AKA, what do you think your life would be like with them?
I guess I'm picking Murphy. We're living in a nice rural area, secluded, no neighbors close by, big yard. She's got her studio to do her YouTube stuff. I've got a garage with a home gym and a podcasting studio, and we can do our own individual things. But at the end of the day, we come together, lay in bed, and we'd cuddle up. She'd read me a book, and yeah, I don't know. I definitely think that's what it would entail mostly. I don't really know them all too well, so I can't really speak outside of the shallow bits, really.
That's good. A nice like home away from people, doing your creative stuff. Sounds like a good life.
Oh yeah, and I'd love to have a yard one day where I have enough room to do things like a garden, or be able to cut some trails in the bush and go for walks in the bush. And I live in a pretty rural, like it's a small city where even the city parts are pretty rural.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, having a yard. This is my first house I've lived in. I went from a trailer to the dorms to the apartment. So I'm living in an actual house, and I have like a little patch of grass. Like it's nothing I can rake the yard in 5 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, in my city right now, owning is ridiculous, but shouldn't be too much longer before I can. It definitely won't be my dream house at this point in time, but it is what it is.
Oh, we're still renting. It's just we're renting a house now. I don't think I'll ever buy. I don't see that for me, but you never know. Never know. Maybe I'll win the lottery or something. Or like my dream is to like have a secret relative come out of the woodworks and like give me money.
Oh, isn't that the dream? Or just have some rich relative you didn't know about pass away, and you're like next to kin?
Well, like, did you watch the new Goosebumps series on Disney Plus?
I haven't.
Oh, well, that's how it starts. Justin Long inherits the house that is the center of all the chaos.
Oh, Justin Long. Okay, I'm gonna have to check it out.
It went on a couple episodes too long, but it was all in all really good. It ended, and I thought, oh, that was the end. Here we are. And then they had a preview, and I was like, I guess we're still going. Okay.
Oh.
I thought we could have went to maybe like a cliffhanger to a second season, but actually, I don't know if I've finished it. But anyway, it was really good. They like tie in like a lot of the books, but like give you a whole new story. It's really good. I'd check it out.
Yeah, I don't even think I watched the Goosebumps movie with Jack Black now that I think
about it. Watch the first
all the hype
one.
Around it.
It's actually like I'm a Goosebumps diehard. It's so good. It like made me like get a little teary eyed at the end.
I'm gonna have to check it out because
I wouldn't watch the second one though.
I was huge into Goosebumps as a kid. We used to get all the books from the book
Hmm.
fairs growing up.
Oh, I went to they I used to live in Los Angeles, and when that movie first came out, they aired it at like a little tiny theater, and like they were gonna do like a Q&A with like the director and stuff. So we went, and they had all the original artwork out in the back that you could like try to purchase, but it was like a lot of money, and I was like, oh, it's nice to see, but I don't think I'll be able to afford it. But it was really cool, and I got like a poster, but yeah, it was really fun. I do recommend the first one, not the second.
I tried to get my daughter into Goosebumps, and she
Oh.
accidentally dumped a juice box on the book, and it was because it freaked her out, and I was like, "Oh, don't worry, like it's just a book." And then the next day, she accidentally spilled her juice box on the book.
Sabotage. Which do you
Yeah.
remember which one it was?
It was the first of the trilogy with the dummies, the
Okay, well
Spanky
that
or whatever.
one,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, well, okay, I'll give her that one. I mean, he's scary. Even I mean, he's the main villain in the series and the movie. I think he's the most
Okay.
iconic villain, just because dummies are just in general so creepy.
It freaked me out so much as a kid, especially the episode of the TV show about it. So
Hmm.
I was like, this, yeah. When I was like, she got the book fair thing home in her
Um,
backpack, and I was like, "Ooh, let's order Goosebumps." And she got these Pokemon books and Goosebumps books, and the Pokemon books didn't get spilled on, but
yeah.
Goosebumps didn't survive after the first reading.
She's like, maybe not. But so we talked about Goosebumps, talked about the crushes. So now it's time to talk more about you and what you got going on. You do a whole show about fandoms. So my obvious
Yeah.
first question is, what was the first fandom, not that you had, but that you remember like impacting your life that you're like, wow, this is like a moment. Like for me, it's Backstreet Boys. Like, what's that for you?
Star Wars. It was the first thing where I realized people make movies as a job. I got the movies, and they had special features on them of like just behind the scenes stuff and interviewing all the behind the scenes, like the people who did the costumes and writers and directors and all of those people. And I sat there watching them, and weirdly enough, I took notes on the people that did the jobs that I was interested in. And I was super young, and I barely remember it even, other than my dad coming in and making fun of me for it. And then from that point on, I was just obsessed with Star Wars, and I was dead set that I was gonna become an actor up until I was 17 years old, I think, and it was all because of Star Wars.
Oh, you wanted to be like the next like Jedi, or what did you want to be on the dark side?
Um, I mean, the Jedi's can't like fall in love or have attachments and stuff. So like, 14-year-old me would have been out of there so fast. The minute they're like, no girls, I would have been gone.
You're like, excuse
I
me?
would have been dark side. Like, I would have been like, okay, thanks for teaching me up until this point, but I'm out.
It's
Um,
just you slowly slide the lightsaber over with the force and just like back up, like I gotta
yeah,
go.
I'd be cutting off that like rat tail thing, like with the lightsaber, and then just be handing them both over and be like, yeah, no, I'm out.
So
There's this guy in a black robe. He told me I can go to town on myself. So see ya.
so your fandom for Star Wars dates back, but your show is still pretty brand new to the podcast realm. But how long had the idea been rolling around in the back of your head? Like, it's time to get this going. Come on, Brody, you gotta do it.
Like, uh, let's see. 7 years.
Oh wow.
7 years ago was when I first came up with it. I did one interview, and I completely botched the recording process. I only got one half of the audio recording somehow. So like, everything I said came through, but nothing the guest said came through. And so I just quit and was like, no, I'm done. And so I didn't think about it for a while. And then I actually, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I went through cancer treatment, and I'm good now.
Okay.
But it was during that whole process where I was like, well, I've got nothing going on, and might as well. Like, I'm still waiting to go back to work, which was the main thing that got me to get it going right away, and why I've been cranking out so many episodes. But yeah, I just decided, like, I really want to do it. Like, I love talking to people about what they're interested in and hearing about what they're passionate about. And who knows, I might find some interesting new things to check out myself. And so far it's been really interesting. I've had a few pretty crazy conversations with people that I found. I've been mostly finding people through Facebook and other social media. So, I mean, it's been pretty hit or miss. I managed to find some cool people like yourself, and a few people who I won't be releasing the recordings
Oh
of.
no. I'll ask about that once we hit stop.
But yeah, so it's been a fun process. I'm hoping that our production value goes up a little bit after Christmas here, but so far it's been a lot of fun. And if anybody is a huge fan of anything and wants to chat, then hit us up.
Well, yeah. Well, congrats on being cancer free. My husband's also a cancer survivor, so.
Oh, congratulations to him. Like, it's rough.
Yeah, it's not easy. No matter, everyone's like, well, you know, if you have this kind, it's always scary for everyone involved, from the person who has it, family. So kudos. Plus with kids, I can't even imagine. But yeah, you mentioned not hitting recording. It's like the biggest mistake when you first start podcasting. I've done it twice myself, and I was like, oh crap.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, I did that like a week ago, and I mean, other than my one, I might be a little bit biased because I'm on your podcast right now, but your episodes that I've done are probably my favorites. Our Backstreet Boys, Always Sunny, and RuPaul. Those are probably my favorite ones, but there was one that definitely could have rivaled them, and we didn't record because the software I was using was different than usual, and it gave me a prompt, but the prompt didn't pop up in front of the program. It popped up behind it, and so I didn't see that it wanted me to hit OK. And so the whole time I thought we were recording, and then I go and I minimize the thing, and then it's like, do you want to start? It's like, are you sure you want to start recording? And I was like, what? I was like, oh my God. So yeah, I ended up going back to the other software I used when I had to do it over. Certain people were just weird and like, oh, I'm only going to talk if it's over Discord. So I had to use stuff to record over Discord. And the program, when I used OBS, it gave me a prompt, and I was not used to that. So they messed up and missed the whole thing.
That's I feel your pain. It's never great when you're like, where's the file? There's no file. So
yeah, especially when you're feeling good about it.
Yeah, you're like one time my husband does podcasting too. He has a podcast all about the 90s called Happened in the 90s, and I was interviewing his co-host, and you know how it is. We just got to talking crap about my husband. We were joking, having a good time, and we're talking a long time because I love the 90s, and as does he. And like an hour goes by, and I look, and I'm like, wait, where's that little red dot in Zoom that tells me it's recording? Oh my God. And I'm like, can you start over? And he was like, yeah, I'm off today. I was like, thank you.
Oh, well, that's lucky.
Thankfully it was like my husband's like friend, so it wasn't like, I did do one with this photographer, and like I just didn't hit record, and I never heard back. I was like, darn.
Yeah.
Now c'est la vie.
In there, my first one was with these guys from YouTube who do like superhero videos, and like, yeah, no, it was they once I was like, yeah, so can we redo that? Just no response.
Oh, I know, it always stings. But what I do like about your show, like with Crushes, there's so much variety to be had. You've had people talk about everything from cats to the WWE, and you've had so many different like fandoms on the show. But has there been one that made you think, huh, well, I didn't know that had a fandom?
Um, I don't think it's out yet, but I interviewed a girl who she collects socks, and she had over 400 pairs.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was one that I was like, okay, yeah, like that is like I was not prepared for socks to come up. So yeah, I'm getting you on. Um there has been a lot of people who have tried to be like, I'm a fan of like my spiritual journey and stuff like that, where I'm like, now past like
Okay.
stuff like that, where a lot of them, like a real lot of them. And I did one with a girl about lucid dreaming, which was a little different than our normal episodes, but it was pretty fun. And I don't know if there's anywhere I'm like, I didn't expect it, because like the whole idea from the show I kind of got because I realized like there's people who are fans of like anything from like stamps to BDSM, and it's like, who are those people? And like, I want to talk to them all. Like I want to get their stories, their experiences, like whatever. Like I don't care what the topic is, as long as it makes sense and it can fit into the format of our show. If you're a fan of it, we want to talk to you about it.
Wow, I can't wait to hear the one about socks. I used to not be like, I don't have no 400 pairs, but I like a nice, like, fun pair of socks. Like, my old roommate only wore white socks, and so she hated that I would have, like, not even like, they'd be like stripes, but, have cats or dogs, or like, I like holiday ones. So I kind of get it, but up to 400, I have to hear why.
Yeah, and the minute she opened our correspondence with, I have over 400 pairs in my collection, and for some reason, like I imagined it like, have you seen the Twilight movies?
No.
Okay, well there's like this I don't know why, out of all the things in those stupid movies, the only thing that I can remember is like they had all this wall of like graduation caps, like overlapping each other in like a weird like thing. And when she said she had 400 pairs of socks, I just imagined them all like hanging off of her wall in like some kind of weird decorative thing, but apparently not. Apparently they're just in bags and drawers and stuff. So it wasn't as interesting in some ways as I thought, but she was definitely an interesting person. She was a public speaker and stuff, so one of our better episodes.
Interesting. Socks. We got everybody has something. So yep. Were you inspired by any podcasts when you started to plan out your own?
I don't know if I'd say inspired by. I really like The Dollop with Dave Anthony and Gareth Reynolds. It's American history comedy podcast. I also really liked the Kevin Smith's old podcast, Batman on Batman, where when it used to be an interview style show where he used to interview people from like the industry who had been involved with Batman, and now the show's like a ghost of what it originally was. But I loved that initial format and getting to hear people's personal stories and how much Batman, if specifically, affected their lives. And part of me was like, well, I mean, it's not just Batman that inspires people. Like, people are inspired by all different things that they're a fan of, and I'd love to hear about how that plays into their life, how they got into it, like their experiences with it, and why it means so much to them. Because I mean, like I said before, like Star Wars, it was at first just 3 movies that I really liked, but then once I discovered those special features, it became like a core part of my personality and formed who I was for like the next 10 years.
Yeah, my husband also he's sad he doesn't have his DVD collection anymore, but he just loved like the special features and everything. He went to film school, so he's like really into like movies and things like that. But so I asked you what podcasts might have helped shape your show, but to bring it full circle, how has your booktuber crushes like channels inspired you in any way when it comes to podcasting?
I'm not too sure. I definitely love to have any of them come on and talk their favorite series. That would be dream come true. I've gotten to talk to 2 podcasters I listened to before I started the show, which was pretty cool. But I don't know if they've really inspired any of my content that I've released. I definitely like to listen to their videos and stuff when I'm trying to come up with questions when it comes to book related episodes, which none of which actually have come to fruition so far. Book fans have been the flakiest ones on me, and it's hurting my heart because now originally it was sports fans that were giving me trouble, and now the sports fans are stepping up, but my book people are letting me down. It's been the anime fans who have been the most help.
Oh, really?
They came out in hordes. I put out a ad on one anime page, and within like a day, I had like 30 people messaging me and stuff. And like, yeah, no, the anime people came out of the woodworks, out of every crook and nook and cranny. And I was like, holy crap! Like, if every fandom was this rabid to talk about what they're into, I would be like, I'd have a backlog for years.
Well, yeah, anime fans are hardcore. I've had a few people come with anime crushes, and that's always where I have to do my most research because I'm like, all I know is to Sailor Moon, and I'm like, that's like the Americanized version. So I'm like, yeah, anime fans, I would put them up, like if you had like a fandom duel, I'd put them against like the Beehive or Swifties for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Swifties. I thought Swifties I would have one step up right away. I did. She keeps flaking on me, so I'm like, But like, I've got questions ready to go if a Swiftie ever steps up, and. Yeah, no, those anime fans, like, they are, when it comes to crushes, like, it can, like, I love you anime fans, but y'all need to chill on your 2D drawn women sometimes because it gets cringe. Like, I have had to watch so many videos on anime. Like, I like anime, but on a surface level. Like, I'm not a hardcore, like they'd call it an otaku, I guess. I learned that during my podcast. But they're very, very intense with it, as where I'm very surface level, and I have had to watch lots of videos where I've had to look up words, and when I learn what that word means, I'm like, how do you publicly on YouTube admit to being into that?
Oh, it gets like sexual.
Oh, very quickly with those anime folks. Like, there is most of them very normal people. I will admit, like, they're very diverse community and like very, very open community. Like, I've noticed they're very open to like cross-dressing and stuff like that, which is super cool. I've talked to 2 guys who do cosplay, and they cross-dress while they do it, and they've had nothing but like positive experiences for the most part, which is awesome. But then there's been a lot of I had one guy who sent me his it's DeviantArt, I think, or whatever. It was basically just a portfolio of like porn he drew, and I was like, I mean, yeah, I'll have you on the show, but I mean, I can't guarantee that I'm not gonna make fun of it a little. And he stopped messaging me instantly because I was honest with him. I'm like, look, like, yeah, I'm down to talk about anything, but this is pretty out there, and like, I'm gonna be cracking jokes. And he blocked me and everything. And yeah, I was
really
like,
offended his art.
You're the one sending me your portfolio of hand-drawn porn.
Was it like not good as like but like good as an art, like artistically?
No.
Oh God, it wasn't a
No,
good
it
drawing. Oh well.
was
Uh,
it was not. Yeah, it was. It I mean, I'm not one to like critique art hugely, and like if this guy finds me crapping on his art, I'm sorry, dude, but like it was like, I don't know, it looked like something a horny 13-year-old doodled up.
and like the math book and the creases. Gotcha.
Yeah, with
Yep.
like what you'd find at the back of a math book with like
Yeah.
over exaggerated breasts and like poorly, like it looked like from a how to draw anime front of a book, but with
But not
titties.
good. So, other than the possible anime titties, what other fandom and socks? I'm still so stuck on these socks. The socks lady. What other fandoms are like coming out in the new year? Do you have that far plan that far ahead?
We've got football coming up, but it's more so the Las Vegas Raiders we talk about mostly in the episode. I'm hoping to do, I should be doing one tomorrow with Chris Koss from Swipe Wrong, I believe the podcast is called. I did a recording of his podcast there about bad Tinder experiences, and yeah, so he'll be coming on to talk his dating experiences as a fan of dating on my show. We've other than that, we've got quite a few anime ones coming up, like I said. One on a few different video games like Halo and stuff. Yeah, our episodes are kind of all over the place as far as that stuff goes. We're not too sure what order we're releasing everything in right now, because we do have a lot of unreleased ones. We're just trying to diversify it a bit more with all the anime that we had flood in.
That's a lot. Yeah, anime fans, hardcore. But other than all of that, lastly, can you remind people where they can find you and your show online?
We are on Facebook at Fandoms Podcast. We are on Twitter or X at the Fandoms Pod. We have a Discord server that's linked through all of our social media and in all of our episode descriptions, where you can come on and suggest questions for upcoming episodes, ask to be a guest, chit chat with other members of the community, or whatever. We don't update it as much as we should, but it's not very heavily moderated either, so it's just kind of a fun place to hang out sometimes. And other than that, we have a new Instagram that we have posted one picture related to the RuPaul episode on.
Oh, nice. I'll have to find it. I didn't see that. It must be super new. What's the app?
We just posted it's the same picture that I had sent you before the show, but I posted it on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, I believe. I may have forgotten Twitter now that I think about it.
No, I'll have to look for it and follow and like and share. So Brody, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to talk about your YouTube crushes with me today. And everyone, you can find all of that information below. And until next time, as always, keep crushing it. Crushgasm is part of the I Did Not Make These Rankings podcast network, alongside some other pretty cool shows, including An Evening at the Movies, Crime, Rewind, Literature Reapers, Love is Black, Masturbators, Men Are the Prize, and The Sipless. You can find all of us and more over at idnmtrpodcastnetwork.com.